the money that they saved on overtime cost how much billions of dollars that now they're coming here to the federal government to ask us to bail them out for their own incompetence. The mayor of Los Angeles is in a different continent. And then they all come back and come here to the federal government and say, oh, you know, we are complete idiots. Would you mind handing over $36 billion? Mr. Crawford, just some very quick questions. Did the LA Fire Department fail to complete a thorough mop-up of the Lackawanna fire, which led to the rekindling of unextinguished roots and embers causing the Palisades fire?
Yeah, in my expert opinion, yes, that was one of the major factors is that when the Lackawanna fire occurred on early mornings of January 1st, and the fire was extinguished, and as they started to scale down, you know, typically you have patrols.
Just my question was, they didn't do a full mop-up?
No, they did not.
And that's standard practice, right? To do that, you want to make sure that you do that. That's not new, that's best practices, right?
You should be doing it. There should be a full mop-up of the incident.
Right. And they did. The key point is they didn't do it.
That's correct. That's
do you want to add anything, Mr.
Yeah, I sure do. I've done several holdover fires. I've probably done 20 of them. And the operation is this, especially with forecasted winds. You have a fire in the dense vegetation in a hillside community, my expectation is nobody's going to go home for at least 5 days. Water on the ground, digging out the roots and all that.
So they failed to follow basic processes that are pretty standard across the industry. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Just a quick yes or no?
Absolute failure.
Okay. All right, the next one is, did the state parks ignore signs of unextinguished smoke embers after the LA Fire Department left the Lackawanna fire site and failed to monitor it proactively?
Well, let's just look at this. The responsibility is not with the state parks. I understand it's their particular territory, but the responsibility for extinguishment lies with the Los Angeles Fire Department. It lies within the mountainous zone of Santa Monica Mountains. And so I've written the agreement between the state parks that who is responsible for monitoring that. So in my opinion, even if a state officer shows up and I'm a chief officer on scene, I'm fully responsible for that fire if it reignites. Gotcha. So I'm going to continue to maintain my people there and include my superiors all the way up as far as the top.
But that's the case. Sorry to interrupt, but to be clear, they did not do that.
That's correct.
And did the mayor approve overtime for the firefighters to pre-deploy to Palisades?
So that was actually one of the fiscal concerns is that I don't believe, in my opinion, what's happened is they never reached the mayor's office of the request. They used their own particular budget, line item for overtime. And so trying to save those fiscal savings, is one of the reasons why they didn't pre-deploy.
So the money that they saved on overtime cost how much billions of dollars that now they're coming here to the federal government to ask us to bail them out for their own incompetence. I guess I'd ask any of the three of you want to answer the question. Actually, even if he's willing, ask the former governor of Florida the same question. How much federal money is required to fight local incompetence?
That's
like what's the dollar value?
Yeah.
Like if you have completely incompetent local leaders and state leaders, how much money does it take to overcome that incompetence?
Well, let me just add to the record how little it would have cost to actually hire the right amount of staffing. So the LAFD has 1,000 firefighters, approximately 1,000 firefighters across three different shifts. It's 1,000 each day that's on duty approximately. All it would have taken was 126 personnel to staff 42 additional engines to put those on the street. And I'm not saying that would have stopped the fire. No, it would have not.
What's the total there?
It would
do the math for the three viewers.
I don't have the exact number, Senator, but it definitely would have been a lot less.
$2 million bucks?
It would have been a lot less.
A couple $1 million. So the taxpayers of Ohio are willing to pay 1/49th of the $2 million. That's what the offer is for the state of Ohio to help the state of California. Because I think the idea that the taxpayer of the United States is burdened with this idea to pay billions of dollars to cover a local incompetence is totally outrageous. Now, I'm not a big California guy, so where in California, Palisades is near LA, I know that. What part of LA is Ghana in? Ghana in?
What part of it, like you said?
It's Ghana. Where in LA is Ghana?
It doesn't exist there, sir.
It's not? Then why would the mayor of Los Angeles be in Ghana?
Well, that's a question for
I thought she was
Mayor Bass.
She must have been there prepared. Like I look at what my colleague here, Senator Scott, did when he was governor of Florida, what Governor DeSantis did, being on the ground every day, managing the troops, making certain that you were ready before the storm, during the storm, after the storm. You look at Florida, where they rebuilt basically the west coast of Florida in a period of time that seemed unbelievable, but he was there. The governor was probably having some sort of fancy dinner at whatever that restaurant that he eats at in California that he doesn't let other people go out to eat during COVID. The mayor of Los Angeles is in a different continent. And then they all come back and come here to the federal government and say, oh, we are complete idiots. Would you mind handing over $36 billion? And then I'm just a little disappointed in my colleague from Connecticut saying, well, the problem is that we didn't give them the money fast enough. Why would we reward that level of bad behavior? I don't even understand this conversation. Are any of you familiar with the lawsuits that are going on now? And the request from the citizens of California requesting the federal government take over this? Because the fire happened, which was avoidable, as my colleague from Wisconsin has clearly laid out. Then you now have insurance companies and citizens suing the state of California because of total incompetence in their rebuild. There's people who are willing to put the money in to rebuild their houses, get the community going again, and because of bureaucracy from the state and the local levels, just won't do it. I mean, this is totally outrageous. What's even more outrageous, and I'll end and give my time back on this, is what's so outrageous is that somebody who has such an incredible track record at being so bad at their job as governor of California, only in the world of politics can you say, hey, take my incompetence that was highlighted for the world to see in California and make me president of the United States. I mean, only in our U.S. political system would have somebody have the gall to actually do that. It's a total disgrace. And I can tell you, speaking for myself in Ohio, I don't think California deserves a dollar of the taxpayer dollars from the people of Ohio to cover up their disgusting incompetence. I know the expression, we shouldn't let facts get in the way of a good story, but we should deal with facts here, especially a committee as important as this. And I just want to clarify for the record that the Secretary of DHS approves contracts over $5 million. I think the ranking member said it was $100,000. So I would ask that the record be corrected unless the ranking member has proof that that's inaccurate.
Without objection.
And then also, by the way, to know for the record that Congress itself, through the appropriations subcommittees, have to approve any awards above $1 million. So this notion that somehow Secretary Noem has micromanaged FEMA to choke it off is just totally and patently false. And I just don't think we should be trafficking in misinformation. To the three of you, if you guys, I'm going to give you a chance to give you a follow-up answer, but just a very quick yes or no. Given the discussion that we just had today, I'll start with you, Mr. Butler. Should Congress cease all funding of FEMA, yes or no?
My answer is to be no.
Definitely no, or maybe no?
No, I mean,
You should.
it's a definite, we need to continue to fund FEMA.
So it'd be a bad idea to defund it.
It would be a bad idea to defund FEMA, that's correct.
And Mr. Crawford, your opinion? Do you think that Congress should defund, meaning provide no more funds to FEMA?
No.
Okay. And Mr. Hawkins?
No.
And I think the ranking member, I'd give him a chance to say, but he could do an infomercial on the importance of FEMA based just on his testimony today. So next question, and I think our chairman brought this up, but I'm sure you're aware that 35% of the budget in the Department of Homeland Security's budget is FEMA. So 35% of what we're going to vote to appropriate of the DHS budget is FEMA. What would be the effects, Mr. Butler, of actually ending all funding to FEMA as of midnight on Saturday? Meaning that we're in the middle of a tough winter situation. We got a cyclone heading to New York and Boston. Who knows what other disasters are in play around the country. And of course, California is always proud to be incompetently step into a crisis. What would be the implications of no more FEMA funding as of Saturday at midnight from your perspective on the ground?
I think it would have a long-term impact on fire operations. But also, I think it's what I see funding for FEMA that affects local agencies like us is the Homeland Security grants that provide us all the advanced equipment, training, and whatnot. But stopping FEMA funding will definitely impact the fire operations.
Would it be hyperbolic, Mr. Crawford, to say that ending FEMA funding could cost the lives of American citizens en masse?
Well, when the storm hits, your local people are going to be responding. And so, you know, FEMA obviously is not there at the time of the incident actually occurs. It's the aftermath that when it happens. And so the cascading effect you will see that will come down later.
But lives could be lost.
Well,
If you don't have shelter.
Any of that's a potential, yes. If it has to do with sheltering, it has to do with, you know, with the long-term effects of housing. And so, yeah, that's going to cause problems and issues. But I do believe that because it's the local people that starts first, you don't see it immediately. It's the cascading effect. So when the cameras are gone away and everyone's gone home, you know, when the smoke is cleared, that's when you start to see the effects of, you know, lack of FEMA funding.
And Mr. Hawkins, your view, what would be the implications of not funding FEMA as of Saturday at midnight?
It would have an impact on local emergency managers, local fire.
Add some adjectives. Right? It would be a slight impact, catastrophic impact, horrible impact, negligible impact.
It really depends on the community you're talking about. Different communities.
So not having FEMA would have a depends impact? So if FEMA just no longer had any money, it's shut down completely. You're saying it depends? So if you have a huge snowstorm that could be catastrophic to the coast in Massachusetts or Connecticut, it might impact people?
No, if there was a major disaster, yes, obviously, if there was no FEMA funding, that would be in fact impactful to that community. But on a steady state operation, much like the other two chiefs had said, yes, there would be an impact to communities across our nation.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I think it's just really important to emphasize that what we're talking about today, it's Wednesday, January 28th, that the Democrats right now are going to make a decision whether to shut down the federal government, which would end the funding for FEMA, because they're mad about ICE operations that are fully funded for the next 4 years. So talk about cutting your nose off to spite your face. It's cutting your nose, your ears, and everything else. And they're going to put American lives at risk. You know, Senator Scott, when you were governor, did you know when a hurricane was going to hit? Did it set an appointment on your calendar? You just don't know. Saturday midnight could come and go. We could be sitting here next week and have a major catastrophe in this country. And the Democrats are playing with the lives of millions of Americans by even talking about the idea of not approving a DHS funding bill, of which a third of it goes to FEMA, and none of it which will affect the funding of ICE. And I think it's just extraordinarily important. You made the point, Mr. Chairman, and I'm just highlighting it, how grotesquely irresponsible that is, especially disingenuous, coming from the ranking member who's doing an infomercial on the importance of FEMA. That's all I have to say.